She was just 16, a vibrant, bubbly teenager full of life. But after running away for the first time, she found herself in a house full of strangers. And these strangers would turn into her killers. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. My name's Cashel. Welcome back to my channel. Each week I try my absolute hardest to teach you about a true crime case hopefully you have never heard of. I hope everyone's had a fabulous week. We're doing a slightly different layout of things today, so I hope you enjoy it. So without further ado, let's get on with the case. I don't think I have any trigger warnings for today, but as always, content warning of strong language. This is the case of Stacey Mitchell. Stacey Lee Mitchell was born on the 17th of June 1990 in Dorset in England. Her family would go on to emigrate to Perth when Stacey was just 10 years old. They were seeking a fresh start in a new country which brought far more opportunities and much nicer weather. By the time Stacey had turned 16, she had gone into her rebellious phase, which I'm sure many of us went through. Mine was at 18, although I'm sure I was a knobhead way before that. But it was the classic kind of teenage rebellion phase where she was clashing a lot with her parents, threatening to run away regularly and embracing a party girl persona. On MySpace, which I never got to use MySpace. Did you use MySpace? Because I missed out on MySpace. I went straight to Facebook. But on her MySpace, she had like a little bio that said, "I love me alcohol," which sounds really northern. "I'm a party girl, I drink 24/7. Stacey's parents, Andrew and Sophie, were loving, caring and deeply connected to their daughter. However, after one argument had just kind of gone slightly too far, Stacey left the house, and this would be the start of her disappearance and the start of the stress for her poor parents. Stacey would leave the family home and go and move in with two girls that she didn't really know. She'd known them 3 days and she'd met them through a mutual friend, and they were older than her. Obviously Stacey's only 16, these girls were 19 and 21. And these two girls were Jessica, who was 21, and I've wrote down Valerie, but I've heard it's Valeria, so I'm going to say Valeria, who was 19. So these two girls were renting a place together, and they were actually both romantically involved with the landlord's son. I think his name was David. So like I said, they'd met through a mutual friend. They didn't really know each other, and they'd known each other for precisely 3 days before Stacey moved in, which you're just so trusting when you're younger and you just think everyone is like you are. It took me a while to kind of figure that out, that people don't treat you the way that you treat other people generally. So Jessica and Valeria are in a relationship. They are together, but then they're obviously also having some form of fling together with the landlord's son. I don't know if that's relevant, but we're going to mention it. So Valeria, out of the two girls, was intensely jealous. She was very, very jealous. And I think that's because of the age of the girls. You're a lot crazier when you're younger, and your jealousy can kind of take a hold of you, and it definitely was with Valeria. She was intensely jealous and had delusions about this. She believed that Stacey was flirting with her girlfriend, which I'm sure she wasn't. So before we get to the horrible bit, she had actually tried more subtle ways of hurting Stacey, if you will, where she'd like spill oil on the bathroom floor hoping she'd slip in it, and she'd put glass in her drink. I mean, they both failed, thankfully, but Jesus Christ, speak to the girl. So in the first few weeks of Stacey living there were subtle signs that something really wasn't right. Acquaintances would later say that the happiness and joy in Stacey's eyes had been replaced with fear, which is such a haunting thing to say. So there was no outward violence or admitted instability before the main event here. But supposedly Valeria had a obsession with kind of darker things, which I do hate when people bring this up, because if I killed someone, not that I'm going to, people would bring up the fact that I love horror movies and I love true crime and things like that, and that's not... Sometimes it's relevant, sometimes it's not, okay? That's what I'm trying to say. Poorly. But Valeria had a interest in vampires and blood, and no one else kind of warned Stacey to leave and that she could potentially be in danger. Like, they were strangers, but they were in a relationship of convenience. They were all convenient to have each other there. On the night of the 18th of December 2006, the three of them all sat around drinking whiskey together, and Valeria struck first and she hit Stacey in the head with a concrete block. I don't know where she acquired this concrete block from, but she hit Stacey in the head with this concrete block. And then Jessica joined in and she grabbed a dog chain and strangled Stacey until she was no longer with us. The attack was brutal, premeditated and methodical in the way that they performed it. And there's no kind of comment on whether, well, it was obviously planned, but there was no comment on how they planned it, how long they'd been planning it for, what they kind of said to each other. But it was clear this was not a spur of the moment thing. So this is the really fucked up. I mean, it's fucked up anyway, but this is really fucked up. So as Stacey's laying there, clinging to life, the pair of them start filming her, filming each other, and just start kissing. So they would like celebrating and kissing over the loss of her life, and a judge would later call this sexually perverse, which I think is an understatement, to be honest. Now, instead of panicking, the girls cleaned up the scene. Like I say, this was absolutely premeditated. They knew what they were doing. They had a plan. They stuck to it. They sorted it. So they cleaned the crime scene. They wrapped up Stacey's body and dumped her in a wheelie bin in the garden. And then the pair of them went out for drinks and got drunk and laughed and took selfies and almost kind of celebrated what they'd just done. Ugh. Stacey had been reported missing by her parents 6 days prior to this happening. On December 21st, 2006, an anonymous tip actually came into the police station about the murder. So I don't know if these girls were quite loose-lipped. A lot of them tend to be, where they'll go out kind of bragging about what they've just done. So they might have done this on their night out after they had killed poor Stacey, and someone rang the police and gave an anonymous tip. So the house was searched. Police, of course, discovered Stacey's body in the wheelie bin in the garden, and she had decomposed quite badly by this point, and she had to be identified via her dental records, which sucks. Jessica and Valeria were both arrested, and neither of them tried to kind of shift the blame. Quite often in cases where it's kind of a duo that have committed the crime, we'll just blame the other person, but they didn't. They both just simply confessed. They said that jealousy and obsession had driven them both to murder her. So David, who I mentioned earlier, who's the son of the landlords, he also lives there. And he, of course, was questioned as well, and he admitted that he knew about the murder. He knew that they had planned this murder, but he chose to stay in his bedroom and stay out of it and stay silent. I don't understand people's moral compass, but whatever. But he was later convicted of being an accessory to murder, because that you can't do that. March of 2008, both women pled guilty at the Supreme Court in Perth. And the trial revealed that Valeria had a personality disorder. I'm not sure which specific one. And she had obviously I said earlier, she had a history of obsession with vampires and also a history of abuse. Justice Peter Blaxell handed down strict security life sentences with a minimum of 24 years. He described their acts as evil, sexually perverse and deeply disturbing. And this was especially because both girls were giggling and smiling throughout their sentencing and throughout their trial. I don't know. Stacey's parents, of course, were absolutely devastated by what had happened. I don't think you can really understand the pain that someone must experience with losing a child. Their grief, I'm sure, is made worse in a way by the cruelty of her killers. The fact that they just have no remorse for what they've done whatsoever must be really hard to deal with. Stacey's life was taken by horrible people that she barely knew, and it's a really horrible tale, and I'm sorry, but that's it. Well, I'm not sorry that's it. I'm sorry that I've told you it. That is the story of Stacey Mitchell. It was a very quick one for today. I do have some longer ones coming up, but at the minute I'm trying to keep them relatively short because I am prepping my little ass off for Halloween. And I will be ordering my Halloween costumes this week. So, yay. Do I have any housekeeping? We're doing housekeeping at the end now. I'm not sure I actually have much to add. Oh my goodness. This David and Celeste. What the fuck? First of all, this is the part that's really kind of getting to me from the story, okay? So obviously everything's totally fucked up. But what I find most fucked up is that this girl was 13 years old. 13 years old, had a boyfriend, for starters, because there's no fucking way my mum would have let that fly when I was 13, that was picking her up in a fucking car. She had a tattoo. Where is your mother? Where is your mother? What the hell? Like, the more that keeps coming out about the things that she was like doing and like what she was allowed to, where she was going and all of these things, and I'm just thinking, where are your parents? Surely that is some form of neglect for the mum, because like, we're now charging parents of school shooters with things that should she not be being looked into, because that's fucking fucked up. What is that? I don't know if I'm just being an arsehole by thinking this, but I genuinely think there should be some investigation to abuse here, because that is not, you can't be looking after a 13-year-old and she goes and gets a tattoo. How was that? If you couldn't tell, it's got me flustered, okay? But yeah, I am in a chokehold with this case. It's all I'm basically watching on my TikTok, and I'm more and more baffled about it every single time I find a new piece of evidence. It's crazy. It's absolutely haunting. I need it all putting together for me now, because I need to know exactly what's happened and how we got here. I mean, there's definitely going to be a Netflix documentary about it. Let's be real. Did I have any other housekeeping? I kind of went on a tangent then. I don't think I did. Let me know what you think of the new layout. I think I'm going to be getting rid of this arm because it's really irritating me, if I'm being totally honest. I don't like it. But yeah, that's it from me today. Next week I should be back with Kenneth Parks. And then how many weeks have we got until Halloween? That's a very good question. We're doing Kenneth Parks, and then after that you'll be getting something from the pile. I'm not sure what. But have a beautiful week, everyone. I don't think there's going to be many outtakes for this one either, but whatever. Have a beautiful week. Make good choices. I had a really good sign off the other day, and I actually can't remember it, but we might just start using the one from my header. Make good choices. Make good choices. Stay spooky, not stupid. Bye. Oh, I need to change my top. I'm not prepared at all. Oh, I'm going to break this arm. If I had a dick, I would pull it out and piss on him. Okay. I need to put my phone on Do Not Disturb because I'm far too easily distracted. And into that hair killers. No. By the time... Ooh. Sophie's... Is it Sophie? It is Sophie. I think it's just... It might... Sometimes like that... Ooh. But... What the fuck was that? What was that? Nope, that's wrong. Of December, no. Oh my goodness. Make good choices, stay cute.